Hey, Clover Mates, welcome back. So I've been pretty busy over the last few days or so. I've been working pretty hard to try and bring back the Let's Plays and all that. You know, I've been working pretty hard to get all of that working again and bring all that foundation back and all that. But before I can bring back any kind of consistent video or upload schedule of any kind, there is a much more important thing that first needs to be taken care of. Now, firstly, a little bit of important context for anyone who may not be affected by this or even aware, as I know there are probably some people in the UK who may not be affected, or maybe international viewers who may not be aware of this at all. Cough, cough, Americans. But there may be certain people who may not be aware or affected by this, so a little bit of important context. Here in the UK, there's been a lot of changes recently, and one of those changes is basically a significant reduction in various support systems, which is just, as far as I'm aware, is like all over the UK, and it's affected quite a few things. It's affected quite a bit. Quite a few people have been affected, me included. So basically, it means a lot of people who were in supported living and other such support systems. The support has been significantly, not necessarily pulled out entirely, but there have been significant cutbacks, and this has affected me quite badly. Like, when the announcement first came, and when there's like questions that this may happen, like, I had a feeling that it was gonna be bad. I had a feeling it was gonna affect me pretty bad, but I had no idea to what extent. So let me give you a little idea of what I'm talking about. Let me show you how things have changed a little bit here. So just give me a moment. Okay, so I basically pulled up a couple of graphics here that show how my support hours used to look versus how they look now after these cutbacks. These are just rough little estimates. Like, they may not be completely accurate, since these are just a few little things just to give you a rough idea of what it typically looked like. So this is how things were before, through 2020 to July 2025. As you can see, I had support through most of the week, with exception to Sunday, since I wasn't here. So as you can see here, majority of the days I had staff support, like basically from 12 PM to 8 PM through most days. So that gives me about 6 to 9 hours. I put 6 hours because, yes, it was 9 hours, but I never really took the full 9 hours just because of how my schedule works typically. Because back then I was getting up round about, back then I was waking up at I think 1 or 2 PM, mainly 1, I think. So I woke up at 1, and obviously I start recording my videos round about 6, so that means I could never really take the full 9 hours. So I got 6 out of it though. And I would never outright refuse any support unless it was someone I was not as familiar with, because in regards to new people and people I'm unfamiliar with, I have crippling social anxiety. So if it's someone I'm not too familiar with, or someone I don't have that much chemistry with, someone I don't know, then I'm likely not going to want support, because it takes a while for me to warm up to someone. But so again, it was like 9 hours, but I got 6 just because of how my schedule worked. So again, mainly most of the week was like 6 to 9 hours, mainly 9 hours, which was again 12 PM to 8 PM, but I just took 6 hours just because of how my schedule worked, and obviously I start recording at about 6, so that gave me about 6 hours. So so again, 12 PM to 8 PM. On Tuesdays, it was only 6 hours, I just 12 to 6 because I go out to see my friends at 6. But that's typically how my schedule used to look. And now, if we look at how things are now, you'll notice there's significantly a lot less support here. So as you can see, before, I only had like no support on one day, and now it's most of a week. So I've basically gone from 9 hours to 2.5 hours, which is a significant reduction. So before I had like 9 hours of support, whereas now I only get like 2 days of support for only 2.5 hours. So yeah, that is a significant reduction. And that started in early August. I don't know if it was like it was definitely in the first couple weeks of August. I think I definitely remember like my birthday was already implemented, and I don't know. It was definitely early August. I'll say that much. But yeah, so basically that's how it looked before, how I preferred it, and this is how things are now after the cutbacks. So again, that's quite a bit of change, as you can see right there. Okay, yeah, that's as you can see, that is quite a lot of support that's been cut. And again, it's not just me. It has affected me quite badly. But this has happened all over the UK. There are other issues that's happened in the UK, but again, I don't want to. The main topic is mainly the support because it has affected me quite badly. So the thing is, so like I am pretty independent for the most part. Like I can do a lot of things on my own, but the thing is I still need that support. Like there are still issues I do struggle with here and there. But the thing is, not only have I like lost my support, but basically I have lost the entire structure of my day, because not only was like I being supported, but I was basically getting woken up so that I'd be up at a decent enough time, so I would be up and about and doing stuff. So that means when my recording time rolls around at 6, it means I would be just up and about anyway to actually get ready to record. Whereas now, ever since my support's been cut, honestly, I've been having a lot of difficulty actually. I've been having a lot of like trouble mentally. Like I've been having a lot of I think my mental health has took a bit of a dip, which I always thought was going to happen, but I didn't think it would be quite like. Yes, I knew my mental health was going to go down, but I didn't think it was going to be quite this severe. So lately, since my support hours have been cut, I've been having a lot of trouble with like motivation, staying motivated, getting up, going out, doing stuff like that. Because again, with the staff coming in, obviously they'd ring the doorbell and I'd have to like get up and open the door for them, and that would basically start my day, pretty much. But obviously, since that's not happening anymore, it means I'm having trouble getting out of bed and just generally functioning, pretty much. So I have difficulty just, functioning in general. So it basically means I've been, ever since the support's been cut, I've just basically been sleeping most of my days away, just because I've been having trouble getting motivated and staying motivated, so that means sleeping most of the day away, and then getting woken up by my 6 o'clock alarm to record, which isn't ideal, because it means when I'm recording, it means I'm still half asleep. I have to get in the shower and stuff like that to like shake it out of my system, which isn't ideal. So that basically means I need to think of something to replace all of that, like some kind of a routine, because again, if I'm going to record, if I'm going to have any kind of like consistent upload schedule, I first need to get some kind of a structure back into my daily routine, because again, a lot, like, again, it's not just the port, it's basically the entire structure of my day being taken away. So I had to find some kind of structure just to get my daily routine back anyway. And I have done a couple of things. I've done a couple of things to try and get that back on track, which I've actually already recorded a clip of things I've done to get back on track, which, assuming, again, firstly, I want to apologize in advance for the quality. It was recorded on my emergency phone, so the audio and video quality might be a little bit crappy. Sorry about that, but take a look. Okay, so for me, the biggest issue for me has always basically been getting up and staying up. So it was never really a good idea for me to have an alarm clock on my nightstand here. That always seemed a bit too dangerous for me because I could just lean over, hit snooze, turn it off, and then just go back to sleep. And that was always the biggest problem for me. So the biggest problem for me is, basically getting out of bed and staying out of bed. So I thought of a couple of things to help out here. So the first solution I had is basically have my alarm clock, because the clock in here in my living room is actually an alarm clock. I have it in here mainly because the clock in my bedroom just seems a bit too bulky for in here. So the idea I had in my head was use my alarm clock in here to wake me up, so I'd physically have to leave the room to turn it off, and then I'd be less tempted to go back into bed. That's the idea, Come in here, turn the clock off, maybe make a cuppa just to try and, wake myself up. So that's the idea. I set, if you see here, so basically I set alarm. So I set my alarm for 12 p.m. That's the ideal time when I'm trying to get up, basically. So that's the idea. Set it for 12 p.m. and then the alarm would go off. I'd come in here, I'd turn the alarm off, make myself a cuppa, maybe have a shower, maybe watch something just to, ease myself into waking up. And that was the idea. That was my original idea. But that didn't really work out too well because usually when people go to bed, usually they shut the doors and stuff. That's just a normal habit. People usually shut the doors when they go to bed, which obviously that already creates a little bit of a sound barrier. And on top of that, not only do I actually have the doors closed, but I usually have 1-2 fans on. So I've had this habit since I was a kid where I can't sleep unless I've got at least one fan blowing on me, but these days it's more two, just because the white noise helps me sleep, the tactile sensation, all that kind of stuff. It helps me relax and sleep. I feel like if there's no fans on at all, it just feels too eerily quiet, and I can't relax. Feels a bit too quiet. So I usually have a couple of fans on, and obviously with the two doors closed and my fans on, if you actually listen, both of them are actually making quite a bit of noise. It's not too bad if you're just here on your own. It's not too bad, but if you're listening out for an alarm out in the living room with two doors closed, then obviously that's it masks the sound, so you can't really hear. So the alarm was going off a full blast. I turned the volume onto max, but all of this was still masking it a bit too much, so I couldn't really hear. So because of that plan was a bit of a bust, so I had to think of a plan B pretty much. It was a good idea in theory, it was a good idea in my head, but unfortunately the doors and the fans created too much of a sound barrier. Okay, so with the fans still on, obviously, with the fans and the door, all that, that plan didn't obviously work. So obviously, I had to think of some kind of a contingency plan, some kind of a plan B. So what I basically did for plan B, let me just turn it off just so I can speak. But what I did, now obviously I've had to do a few things here and there. So if you see here, my my Alexa device, I've actually changed the wake word, which I'll get into in a bit. But I've moved my Alexa device that was originally over there on my nightstand or bedside table, and I've had to move it over there. And that basically works with my alarm clock now. So I basically turned this up to, hang on, volume current.
This device is at volume 4.
Okay, so I've turned it to volume 4, so that means when the alarm, so I've set an alarm on there, so basically I've moved my device from there to there, I've turned it to volume 4, so that means it can be, it's loud enough to be heard even with the fans. I've changed the wake word so I can't trigger it accidentally, because if you now, anyone that has a device that, you know, you might put your headphones in now, but hang on, Alexa, Echo, Dot, Amazon, as you can see, none of those have triggered it. I changed the wake word to something, to be like lesser known wake word, the one with Z. I don't want to say it just because I don't want to risk actually remembering it, but I deliberately changed the wake word, the less used one and the less easy one to remember, because it's, again, starts with a Z, which really, you don't really use the letter Z much in the alphabet typically anyway, so I thought that was good. So I thought by doing that, it means I'm less likely to use the wake word, like, you know, so imagine I'm just in bed, like the alarm's going up and I'm just like yelling, you know, Alexa, turn the alarm off. But obviously that's not going to work because I've practically disabled the wake word. Well, not change it, it's still there, it's just a lot harder to actually remember. So that means I'm less likely to use the voice command to turn it off. So that basically means I have to physically get up out of bed and then obviously turn the alarm off physically by pressing the button and then say turn the alarm off. Or additionally, I found out if an alarm's actually going off, pressing that button actually works as a turn off the alarm button, which I just found out. So I'll get out of bed, turn the alarm off, and then I'll look there to see it's 12 o'clock, because again, 12 p.m. I think is a good time for me to try and get up. But yeah, I've had to jump through a couple hoops just to get this plan to work. It's a little convoluted, but hopefully it works. Additionally, I've made a couple additional routines. Like aside from my alarm, I've also made a couple of routines which remind me when it's time to go to bed. Like I still want my late night anime sessions and stuff. So I basically formed a bit of a plan. So basically, my alarm will get me up at 12 p.m. So I've still got all that, like my recording time at 6 and stuff. And then after all that's done, basically I'll have a couple hours to like relax, watching anime and stuff at night. And then I'll have a couple routines on here. Basically I've got one at 4. Hang on. I think I've got one at 4 a.m. I'll have one at 4 a.m. and then I'll have one at 5 a.m. which is basically like, so the 4 one is basically the first one, and then the 5th one, like the 5 a.m. one, is basically my bedtime deadline, where I basically stay up no longer than that time. So that basically means I can basically do everything I want to do. I can record, I can stay up for a bit, I can relax, and I'll still get my 7 hours in bed. And then that wakes me up at 12. And in the event I decide to go to bed a little earlier than 4 or 5 p.m. a.m. Sorry, I can just press this and I'll set up a routine. Good night.
Okay, bedtime routine disabled. Okay, bedtime deadline routine disabled.
So basically I can just say good night and then it will basically disable my routines, my bedtime routines, so that they don't wake me up when I decide to go to bed early. And then basically at 1 p.m. after I've woken up, it will then run a routine which turns them back on so they're ready to go for the next night. Of course, that means now I'm going to like reset them manually because I've shown it, but I just wanted to like show it just to show you the steps I've taken to basically get around this whole issue with the staff change and all that. But yeah, it's a bit convoluted. It took a few nights, to set everything up, which is again why I've not been uploading the past few days, is because these things take a bit of time. But that's basically what I've done. And yeah, that's basically what I've done. So there's like a few steps I've taken in place to basically, instead of relying on staff to wake me up, instead of the doorbell, now I'm obviously relying on my Alexa device to wake me up in place of the doorbell. And again, because I'm getting up at 12 p.m, it basically means I'm going to be typically up anyway. I'm typically going to be up anyway for when recording rolls round. I chose 12 because it's not that different, because again, before I was waking up at 1 p.m. before, and 12 is not that much of a difference, really, to be honest. Now, the reason I chose 12, like noon, it's mainly because I'm not a morning person at all. Even when I try to be I tried to be a morning person before, and it just does not work for long. So I thought 12 p.m. would be a nice compromise. Like, it's not so early, like it's not in the morning, but at the same time it's not too crazy. Like, it's a little earlier than what I was getting up before. Again, trial run, it's still early days, we're still seeing what happens. Also having a couple routines like to remind me to go to bed, and one I can just shut off in the event I decide to get up, in the event I decide to go to bed a little earlier than usual. And again, after I'm up, there'll be another routine to turn it back on afterwards. Again, the fact I've also had to move a couple of things, because again, I did originally try using my alarm clock over there, but that didn't work because again, the doors and the fans created a sound barrier, which wasn't ideal. So I had to move my device from my nightstand to my window ledge, so I have to physically get up and press the button because I can't use the wake word. So yeah, I took all of these steps. Again, it's still early days, but I'm hoping this works. I'm hoping with this I'll be typically up for a good portion of the day, so I'm not just sleeping the whole day away. I'm hoping this works. Again, still early days, we can't be sure at this point, but hopefully this will work. Again, we'll have to see I'll have to monitor to see how things go, but hopefully this will work. This will work, getting structure back into my day, so I'm not sleeping the day away, so I've still got a decent bit of time, and again, the fact I've also thought of everything, my overall routine. So basically, I wake up at 12, and then I've got a few hours to do whatever, and then I record at 6, record and edit at 6, and then after that, basically I've got from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. to do whatever, and then I go to bed at 5 at the latest. And then, yeah, so hopefully it's a bit convoluted. The steps I've had to take is a bit convoluted, but I'm hoping it works in the long run. But again, I just wanted to keep you guys informed of what's going on because, again, I've been away for a while. There's been so much going on between my phone and all this, and I just wanted to talk about this, of how it's affected me and how I personally feel about the changes and stuff like that, just getting it off my chest, just to vent a little bit. And hopefully this does help give a bit of structure and, again, help me bring back the Let's Plays. But again, that's all I wanted to say for now. So as always, thank you guys for watching, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully I'll be able to bring back Let's Plays very, very soon, now that, again, we'll have to see how this goes. But yeah, until then, have a good day, you guys.